All right, we're going to leave it right there for a minute and take a station identification break. You're listening to the Unified Field, and this is the Steve Vernon interview. Be back in a moment. Stick around.
I just love making pizza. I make pizza 7 days a week until 5 a.m. 5 a.m.
Freeman's Little New York, the home of gourmet pizzas and so much more. We offer hearty pastas, fresh seafood dishes, and breakfast all day long.
Oh yes, a breakfast. I can make breakfast for you all day, anytime.
Visit us at 6092 Quinpool Road, Halifax, or take advantage of our free delivery from 4 p.m. to 5 a.m.
Yes, call 455-7000. I'll make your pizza.
Freeman's Little New York, the best.
Hey, don't forget Grafton Street.
Right. Join us at our new location at 1726 Grafton Street, Halifax.
Buy pizza. It's delicious, huh?
Freeman's Little New York, the best slice in town.
The presidential election in Ghana has been narrowly won by the opposition candidate John Atta Mills. Ghana's electoral commission says...
Sick of corporate news? Would rather hear from people in your community and communities across Canada? Tune out the static and tune into Groundwire. 30 minutes of grassroots news produced by independent, on-the-ground journalists and campus community radio stations from coast to coast to coast. Released the first Monday of every month. To listen, contribute, or learn more, visit groundwire.ncra.ca. This is a project of the National Campus and Community Radio Association. Made by you, for you.
I'm David Suzuki. The average lunch or dinner travels 2,400 kilometers to get to your table. Eating local means combating global warming. The future is on your table.
Eat your way to a healthier planet. Find out how at davidsuzuki.org.
Spell rhythm. C-K-P-U-F-N.
You are listening to the Unified Field.
Technologic. Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it, drag it, drop it, zip and zip it, lock it, fill it, curl it, find it, view it, code it, jump and lock it, surf it, scroll it, pose it, click it, cross it, crack it, switch, update it, name it, read it, tune it, print it, scan it, send it, fax, rename it, touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, stop, format it, buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, mail, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, write it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it, drag it, drop it, zip and zip it, touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, turn it, leave it, stop, format it. Touch it, scroll it, pose it, click it, cross it, crack it, switch, update it. Lock it, fill it, curl it, find it, view it, code it.
Technologic. Fantastic. I love it. Those guys have been around forever. If you don't know who that band is, well, I don't know what to tell you. Daft Punk people, get with the program, okay? I'm glad you're back with us. This is the Unified Field, Atlantic Canada's only paranormal radio broadcast. You can reach us here at the Unified Field at unifiedfieldradio@gmail.com. Send me some emails. I want some local input. I'm going to have to put an ad on the coast and call for paranormal stories to get this train rolling, as Jesse Randolph says. The truth train rolling. You're back here. This is the big bad kick-ass Steve Vernon episode 4 of the Unified Field. This is actually about episode 6 or 7, because I've done a couple live off-the-cuff episodes live at CKDU that were really fun last week. If you all tuned in, I did an Andrew Basiago marathon, which is really nice off the cuff, right after Dawn of Tomorrow. And it was great. I had a great time. I hope you all enjoyed it. And here we are, back on the Unified Field. We are going to jump right back into it here. This is Steve Vernon, continuing on with our interview that took place about 1 month ago today about his new book, Maritime Monsters, a field guide. This is a children's book, and it's fantastic. Here we go. Mr. Steve Vernon on the Unified Field. Now, Steve, I'm really excited about this new children's book that you've written, because I managed to get a copy of it, and I read through it, and you've got a real fantastic way of writing, and you're very entertaining, and, you know, you're right on the level for the kids. You got a great way of saying things so that it's funny, it's entertaining, and at the same time, it's really just neat. But before I get into that stuff, this is beautiful Halifax. Picturesque, beautiful Halifax, coastal Nova Scotia, one of the greatest places on earth as far as I'm concerned, unless you're looking for work. But these books, I've got to get into these two books in specific before Maritime Monsters. Halifax Haunts, exploring the city's spookiest spaces, and then I want to talk a little bit about your Wicked Woods and in the old New Brunswick. How did you get involved in Halifax Haunts, exploring the city's spookiest spaces?
Okay, well, I got to take you a couple of steps back.
Yeah.
We'll come at this from a different angle than you suggested.
Okay.
Haunted Harbors was the first one. It come out in 2006. I
Gotcha.
pitched it to Nimbus in 2004 at the Writers in the Word on the Street pitched the publisher section.
Okay.
It was the first pitch, the publisher session. They picked it up. And it's just a collection of Nova Scotia tales. And these sort of collections have been put on before, but, you know, it did very well. It went into a second and a third print run, and it's still selling quite nicely. And they asked me to come up with a second one, and I said, well, how about another Nova Scotia? Well, they said, can you do another province? So I said, well, I know a fair bit about New Brunswick. I don't know much about Newfoundland. I've been there, but I've been through, New Brunswick quite a few times, and I knew a fair bit about it. So I said, let's do that, and we released Wicked Woods. Again, just a standard collection. But they wanted me to do a third book, and I said, well, I want to do something different. And I come up with the whole concept of this walking ghost tour, this do-it-yourself ghost tour wrapped up in a book.
Okay.
I wanted to put on a ghost tour. But there was already 2 or 3 fellas doing that sort of thing. And I said, well, okay, I don't want to get down there and get into a feud with these guys, try and steal their business or try and cast my shadow where they're already doing their thing. How can I do this? And I stumbled on the idea of putting it out as a book. So I decided, we needed to have photographs. Mm-hmm. So I went to Nimbus and I said, we're going to have a photograph of each site. And they said, well, that's going to cost money. And that means that'll have to come out of your royalties. And he said, have you thought about doing this? Well, I knew a little bit about photography, but I said, let me see what I can do. And I found out it turned out I had a knack. You probably looked through the book, the pictures aren't they're not half bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I decided we'd have a picture each site, and then I decided on the GPS coordinates. I said everybody's got a GPS on their phone. They've got their geocachers out there. This is the 21st century.
That's right.
So I said we need a map. We need a geocache sighting set us coordinates rather.
Mm-hmm.
And I designed the whole concept, so I'm very proud of that book. And I decided that with, Halifax Haunts, I wanted to include a ton of local history, because Halifax has an incredible story. There's so many stories, that don't just have to do with ghosts. But every site that I found a ghost or a story of a ghost, I looked into the history. And if it was deep and if it was chewy, then I would wrap that into the story.
This is an important book, Steve, in a sense, because this is a historical aspect of the city that doesn't normally get covered by conventional history books. So kudos for writing this book.
Well, thank you. I'm very proud of it.
You're welcome. I have to ask you, though, because I know the listeners will want to know, what is the spookiest space or story in this book, Halifax Haunts?
The spookiest space? Well, there's an awful lot of stories on George's Island, and there's a tremendous amount of stories that are wrapped around Citadel Hill.
Okay.
I'd say that, if you were looking for ghost stories, the bulk of them would be found clustered around Citadel Hill.